The big issue is President Bush's decision to spare the vice president's former chief of staff prison. Folks on the right are mad at the president for not pardoning Scooter Libby altogether. Folks on the left are mad that Libby won't serve any time. And then there's Rosie O'Donnell, who, of course, is just mad. Shockingly, O'Donnell blogged about the commutation. Here's part of her poetry of Scooter Libby outrage. Quote, "Dick says do it, I will get you out. Scooter says okay, and like Cheney promised, kaboom, Libby is free. The guys in charge are criminals. Impeach Cheney, then Bush ASAP." More to come on that in a moment. Today, the president spoke out about his decision for the first time on camera. He says he won't rule out an eventual pardon for the former White House aide.
I weighed this decision carefully. I thought that the jury verdict should stand. I felt the punishment was severe. So I made a decision that would commute his sentence, but leave in place a serious fine in probation. As to the future, I'm, rule nothing in and nothing out.
Libby may not be serving time, but the White House press secretary, Tony Snow, says he hardly got a slap on the wrist.
He has a $250,000 fine to pay. That remains the same. He's got 2 years of probation. That remains the same. A felony conviction has profound impacts on his ability to earn a living as a lawyer because he's not going to be able to practice law. So this is hardly a slap in the wrist in terms of penalty.
White House Press Secretary Tony Snow started his daily briefing today as though it were just any daily briefing. He previewed the president's trip to visit wounded soldiers at Walter Reed. He gave a report on the number of soldiers who have re-enlisted in the Army. The subject that had dominated the news overnight didn't come up until Snow said,
and with that, I'll take questions.
The first one, no surprise, was about Libby. Is commuting his prison sentence the final word, a reporter asked? Could a pardon still come later? Snow didn't rule it out, but he said that so far there's been no petition for a pardon from Libby's lawyers.
Well, let me put it this way. The president thinks that he has dealt with the situation properly.
Next question, did the vice president weigh in on the sentence? After all, Libby was Dick Cheney's chief of staff. Cheney has repeatedly praised Libby as a friend and trusted aide, and has publicly said he hoped that his name would be cleared through appeals. Here's Tony Snow.
My guess is that I don't have direct knowledge, but on the other hand, the president did consult with most senior officials, and I'm sure that everybody had an opportunity to share their views.
And there was a question about the president's statement yesterday that the 30-month prison sentence was excessive, even though the prosecutor in the case, Patrick Fitzgerald, countered in his own statement that it was handed down by a respected federal judge who was following sentencing guidelines, the very guidelines upheld as reasonable last month by the Supreme Court. Tony Snow.
I know you're trying to get into the business of having an abstruse legal argument with Patrick Fitzgerald. Not going to do it.
And what about White House worries that Libby would seek to shorten his sentence by speaking publicly about the things the White House would rather keep secret? Was that a concern for the president?
No, he thought it was an improper punishment.
Did Libby get special treatment because of who he is? No, said Snow. And Snow insisted that politics played no role in the decision, and that the president was not seeking to please conservatives, whose support he relies on. And so it went for all but the very end of the briefing, when the topics of immigration and tainted food from China took up the final minute or so.
Radio talk show host Ben Ferguson is with me now. So, Ben, the left is going absolutely nuts about Scooter Libby not doing any jail time, that essentially Bush spit in the eye of the jury. They got any kind of point, in your view?
No, they don't. And the reason why they don't is because look at what this guy did. He had a bad memory. He couldn't remember what he said, and that's what got him in trouble. The problem with this is you look at this prosecutor, it reminds me of the Duke prosecutor. He already knew where the leak came from, and he still went after Scooter Libby for his resume. He wanted to say, I got somebody that was at the White House, and he was successful in doing that. But why would you waste America's time asking questions when you already know who leaked the name of Valerie Plame? This was a witch hunt. He was successful in finding someone to send to jail. And the president said, look, all this guy did was mess up what he said on his story. I'm not going to send him to jail for 2.5 years, $250,000 in fines. When, you know, we've had other people in the past that have messed up. A guy that I think, didn't he stuff paper all in his jackets and his shoes? I think his name was Sandy Berger. Stole documents that were classified, and he's not in jail now. So where's Rosie on that guy? Where's the media on that guy is my question.
Rosie said, impeach Bush. Is this, in your view, just more frothing from the left? Or, you know, you've got to face it, they've been wanting to do this for some time. Is this lighting the fuse?
Well, I think what she's doing is she's unemployed and she's trying to get a soundbite to let people know, hey, I still need a new job. I mean, this is a typical liberals going out there, and I hate to do blanket statements, but you got to look at the reality. Nancy Pelosi comes to Washington and says she's going to clean up the culture of corruption, yet she still lets one of her congressmen who had $90,000 of cold cash vote for the United States House of Representatives. Doesn't do anything about this, but they'll say the president's an evil man who can't be trusted, and they're not going to be able to fix Washington because of all this, you know, insider stuff going at the White House. I mean, there's a huge double standard. Do I think that this man should be in trouble for what he did? Absolutely. And he still is in trouble. He's still going to be a felon. He's still on probation. He's got to come up with $250,000 plus his legal fees.
Why should he be in trouble? Why should he suffer all of that, Ben, if all he did was not be able to remember which day he heard what?
Well, I mean, if you don't know, you say, I don't know. And I think that's what we have to understand is that there has to be a higher standard for people to have, you know, confidence, the American people have confidence in the White House. And if you don't remember, you just say, I don't know. And what he did was try to remember stuff that he didn't remember. And that's what got him in trouble. So should he get in trouble for that? Yeah, a little bit. Do I think that the president, if it goes farther, should pardon him? That's his prerogative. I'll tell you this much. He was loyal to the White House.
Wait a minute, Ben.
And the White House is probably going to be loyal to him.
If all he did was not say, I don't know, when he should have, why should he lose his law license? Why should he pay $250,000 fine? Why should he have a felony tagged to him forever?
Well, I agree with you on that point, and I think the reality is you look at it. Was it a witch hunt to find someone to take down at the White House? Yes. That's what this prosecutor wanted to do. He knew where the leak came from the very, very beginning, and he still went and questioned people after he knew what he was trying to find had already been found. And that, to me, is the reason why this man should walk home and hang out with his family.
Is Rosie going to get her wish? Are the Democrats going to impeach Bush?
No way. No chance, and you know where. I can tell you that much.
Ben Ferguson, radio talk show host. Ben, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks
Coming
for
up,
having me.
do you believe in Bigfoot? A lot of people do, and a search team's just been put together to find the legendary creature. The search for the elusive Sasquatch. Next.
If somebody did leak classified information, I'd like to know it, and we'll take the appropriate action.
It appears is that Mr. Libby's story that he was at the tail end of a chain of phone calls, passing on from one reporter what he heard from another was not true. It was false.
Today I accepted the resignation of Scooter Libby.